Welcome back to the channel, everyone. If you love captivating stories about men transforming into women in unique and fascinating ways, then be sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Now, let's jump right into today's tale.
The moment Erin stepped out of the building's front doors, she felt it, that subtle shift in energy, like the air had thickened with attention. Click, click, click. Her high-heeled boots struck the pavement with confident rhythm, each step a small rebellion. She had practiced. She had trained. She could walk like a woman now, hips swaying naturally, shoulders relaxed, posture poised. But what she hadn't prepared for was being watched. It wasn't like in movies, where catcalls and whistles announced the male gaze. It was subtler, more insidious, a prickling awareness along her skin, a sixth sense that told her she was being evaluated piece by piece, curve by curve. Even before she left the building, it started. In the elevator, there was a man, mid-30s, business casual. Not particularly handsome, not particularly subtle. She felt his gaze drift from her legs, up her curves, pausing at her chest before flicking away when she glanced at him. Going down, he asked, with just enough inflection to make the innocent question feel like something else entirely. Just the lobby, she replied, keeping her voice neutral. They rode in silence for 12 floors, but the air felt charged, uncomfortable. He stood slightly closer than necessary in the empty elevator, his cologne, too much of it, invading her space. She didn't say anything. Didn't need to. She could feel it. As Ethan, she'd noticed pretty women, of course, looked at them, approached them. But she'd never realized what it felt like from the other side. To be constantly observed, assessed, mentally undressed. It was like being an item on a menu rather than the person reading it. Part of her was creeped out. But another part, a tiny, traitorous part, felt something else. A flicker of awareness. A thrill, even. Not because she found him attractive, she didn't. But because he looked. Because she was seen. Admired. Desired. Is this how it always is? She wondered, shifting uncomfortably. This constant awareness. It was confusing. And dangerously close to flattering. The elevator dinged. She stepped out quickly, leaving him behind. "Have a beautiful day," he called after her, his eyes still lingering on her backside. "Thanks," she muttered, not turning back. The walk to Starbucks was only 3 blocks, but each one felt like a high-stakes runway. Some men were obvious, turning their heads, slowing their pace, smiling in that way that said they weren't just being friendly. A construction worker paused mid-conversation with his buddy, both of them tracking her with their eyes as she passed. A businessman in an expensive suit actually stopped walking, pretending to check his watch, just to let her pass so he could watch from behind. Others were more subtle, pretending to check their phones while sneaking glances, their eyes tracking her like she was a trending hashtag in heels. I used to do that, she realized with a jolt of recognition. That fake phone check, that casual lean against a storefront, just to get a better angle. She'd been on the other side of this equation countless times. A middle-aged man, in a convertible, slowed down as he drove past, making an exaggerated show of removing his sunglasses to get a better look. "Need a ride, sweetheart?" he called out, his wedding ring glinting in the sunlight. "No thanks," she replied, quickening her pace. "Your loss," he called after her, accelerating away. "Married," she muttered. Classic. Dot. Even the women noticed. Some gave her polite nods or curious once-overs. Others scowled, jealousy in their eyes, as they noticed their boyfriends ogling Erin like she'd been hand-delivered from a perfume. A woman in yoga pants shot her a particularly venomous look when her bearded companion nearly walked into a parking meter, his attention entirely focused on Erin's figure. "Watch where you're going, Jake," the woman snapped, loud enough for Erin to hear. What? I was just. Don't even start. Erin tried to ignore it all. I'm just getting coffee. I'm not on display. I'm not. But she was. That's the thing. She was on display, whether she meant to be or not. And now, she understood, viscerally, what Madeline had meant by empathy. This wasn't a game. It was a reality. Unwanted attention. Mixed signals. The constant awareness of being looked at. How do women do this every day, she thought, clutching her purse closer. It's exhausting. She'd always thought women who complained about male attention were being dramatic. Now, with every pair of eyes that lingered too long, she realized the complaint wasn't about the attention itself. It was about the relentlessness of it. The inescapability. By the time she reached the Starbucks, her heart was fluttering in her chest. She wasn't panicking, not quite. But she was definitely overwhelmed. Focus. Coffee. Get the latte. Go home. She reached for the door. Before she could touch the handle, it opened. A tall man, clean-shaven, mid-30s, wearing a fitted gray jacket and no wedding ring, held it open for her. He smiled, but didn't leer. His eyes stayed politely on her face. No up-and-down scan. No smirk. Just courtesy. Erin froze for half a second, caught off guard. Thanks, she said softly, stepping inside. He nodded. Of course. No wink. No follow-up comment. No, that smile should be illegal. Or you look too good to be standing in line. Just him holding the door. She blinked, baffled. Wait, that was normal. After the gauntlet of stares and comments she'd endured on her 3-block walk, this simple, respectful interaction felt like finding water in a desert. She hadn't realized how tense she'd been until that moment of relief. She moved to the counter, her heels clicking gently on the tile, and joined the line. Her mind was still halfway outside the door. This shouldn't be so damn refreshing, she thought. Being treated like a human and not a buffet line shouldn't feel like winning the lottery. The attention from earlier, the stares, the subtle and not so subtle looks, it had rattled her more than she expected. But that guy, he didn't treat her like a snack. He just treated her like a person. She glanced back out the window, half expecting him to be watching her. He wasn't. He was gone. Somehow, that made it more impactful. Next, the barista called, snapping Erin out of her thoughts. She stepped to the counter, meeting the expectant gaze of a 20-something guy with a nose ring and an undercut. Hi, she said. Can I get a? Let me guess. He interrupted with a grin. Skinny vanilla latte. She blinked. No, actually. I was going to order. Pink drink. You look like a pink drink girl. He leaned forward slightly, his customer service smile just a shade too familiar. Erin felt an unexpected flare of annoyance. Neither. I'd like an iced caramel macchiato with oat milk. The barista's smile dimmed slightly. Coming right up. Name. Erin. Pretty name for a pretty girl, he said, scribbling on the cup. Thanks, she replied flatly, handing over her card. She stepped aside, watching as he prepared her drink. The interaction left a sour taste in her mouth. Had he really just assumed her order based on what? Her looks, her gender. Would he have done that if I was still Ethan, she wondered? The answer was obvious. As a man, she'd been asked what she wanted, not told what she probably liked. She ordered her drink, iced caramel macchiato with oat milk, and moved to the side to wait. Her hands fiddled with her purse strap, her fingers brushing the zipper rhythmically. The coffee shop was busy, Friday afternoon rush. Business people tapping on laptops, students with textbooks, spread across tables, the usual crowd of caffeine seekers and remote workers. A few glances flicked her way, but it was less intense in here. Maybe because people were focused on their own tasks, or maybe because the confined space made outright staring more obviously rude. She wasn't sure how she felt. Flattered, exhausted, exposed. Maybe all of it. Maybe none of it. Maybe she just needed caffeine and to not think for 5 minutes. "Erin," the barista called, setting her drink on the counter with a smile that lingered just a beat too long. She approached and reached for her cup, noticing immediately that something was written on it beyond just her name. She turned it around. There, beneath Erin in sloppy barista handwriting, was a phone number and a small heart. "Are you kidding me?" she muttered under her breath. The barista winked. "In case you want to discuss coffee preferences sometime." "Thanks," she said, not meaning it in the slightest. She grabbed a straw and a napkin, hyper-aware of his eyes following her as she did. As she took her drink and turned to leave, she caught her reflection in the window. Long legs, tight jeans, subtle makeup, a sway in her hips she hadn't meant but couldn't unlearn. She looked confident, composed, but inside, she was a jumble of contradictions. Irritation at being hit on by the barista. Discomfort from all the staring. A strange, unsettling pride that she could pass as a real woman in public. And underneath it all, a growing understanding of something Madeline had tried to tell her countless times. Being desired wasn't the same as being respected. She was still Erin, trying to figure out who the hell Erin even was. The cup felt cold against her fingers, the condensation slowly soaking into the cardboard sleeve. She took a sip, the familiar bitterness of coffee and sweetness of caramel, a small comfort in a suddenly very complicated world. The door was ahead of her, 3 blocks back to the apartment. 3 blocks of sidewalk that now felt like running a different kind of gauntlet. She took a deep breath, squared her shoulders, and pushed through the door. The living room was quiet, the soft flicker of a TV casting shadows across the walls. Erin sat curled on the couch in a pair of fitted jeans and a cozy cardigan, flipping through streaming apps like she was on a mission to find anything that wasn't a rom-com or a makeover show. So far, no luck. Why is everything about falling in love or fixing yourself? She muttered, scrolling past yet another title, featuring a perky blonde discovering her inner strength while also landing the perfect man. Can't I just watch something explode? She'd changed out of her going-out outfit the moment she returned to the safety of the apartment, trading her leather jacket and boots for the softer, more comfortable ensemble. The cardigan was cashmere, buttery soft against her skin, another one of Madeline's purchases that Erin grudgingly admitted felt amazing. She sipped the last melted inch of her iced caramel macchiato, now lukewarm and watery at best, the plastic Starbucks cup resting on the coffee table, like a glowing beacon of her small triumph. Her victory trophy. Proof she'd ventured into the world and survived. She'd carefully positioned the cup so the phone number wasn't visible, not quite ready to explain that particular detail to Madeline. The front door clicked. Madeline was home. Erin didn't even look up, just kept scrolling, affecting a casualness she didn't feel. Her heart rate kicked up slightly, an involuntary response to the imminent confrontation. She heard the familiar sound of heels on hardwood, the swish of a designer bag being set down, and the unmistakable pause when Madeline entered the room. "Well, well," Madeline said, voice teasing. "You've been busy." Erin gave her a side glance. "What?" She tried to look innocent, but the slight flush in her cheeks betrayed her. Madeline was too observant to miss anything, especially when it came to Erin's activities. Madeline's eyes flicked from the Starbucks cup to Erin's outfit, and then back to Erin's carefully neutral expression. She was still in her work clothes, a tailored charcoal skirt suit that made her look both powerful and elegant. "You were in shorts and a tank top this morning," she said, walking toward the couch. "Now you're in jeans, boots, and a jacket." Not to mention, she plucked the empty cup off the table. A suspiciously barista-branded beverage. Erin sighed and dropped the remote dramatically. "You're like a glamorous bloodhound." "I prefer astute observer of the obvious," Madeline replied, turning the cup in her hand. Her perfectly manicured nails clicked against the plastic as she rotated it, stopping when she reached the phone number. Her eyebrow arched in amusement. Well, someone made an impression." "That was the barista," Erin said quickly. "I didn't ask for it." "I didn't think you did," Madeline said, "though I am impressed. First day out alone, and already collecting admirers." Madeline grinned. "So, wanna tell me what you've been up to, or should I guess?" Erin stared at her for a beat, then slumped back into the couch cushion with a groan. Madeline perched on the arm of the couch, legs crossed elegantly, giving her full attention. She set the cup back on the table. "Phone number side up now," as if to remind Erin of the evidence already against her. "I was bored," Erin started. "Like, stupidly bored. I couldn't find anything to watch. I was just sitting here, being all pretty and useless, which, by the way, is not as fun as Instagram makes it look. Hard to believe lying around looking gorgeous isn't fulfilling." Madeline deadpanned. Madeline chuckled softly. "I'm serious," Erin protested. "Do you know how many channels there are of just beautiful people doing nothing interesting? Thousands, and they all look so damn happy about it." "That's because they're getting paid," Madeline pointed out. "You're just getting educated." Erin rolled her eyes. It was only noon, and I kept thinking, what am I going to do? Just hide in here forever like some cursed Disney princess with Wi-Fi. So I decided to rip the Band-Aid off. Madeline raised a brow, meaning. "I went out," Erin said flatly, "to get coffee. And a sandwich. And then I walked around the park for a bit." "Wait, the park too? Ambitious for your first solo flight," Madeline said, sounding genuinely impressed. She slipped off her heels with a small sigh of relief, flexing her toes against the carpet. Madeline's grin widened. "All by yourself?" "Yeah. I figured if I have to do this whole live like a woman thing, I might as well do it on my terms for once." "Exercising your agency already," Madeline said. "I'd be proud if I weren't so surprised. I thought you'd be hiding under the covers until Monday." "Not all of us can pull off the hermit lifestyle," Erin retorted. "Some of us need actual human interaction to survive," says the person who just complained about being pretty and useless on the couch. "I didn't say I was good at it," Erin mumbled. Madeline nodded slowly. "Good? And?" Erin hesitated. It was weird. Weird how? There was genuine curiosity in Madeline's voice now, the teasing tone replaced by something more attentive. "People stared," she said, unconsciously pulling the cardigan tighter around her. "Guys, mostly. Some subtle, some very not subtle. Like, elevator guy was practically undressing me with his eyes. I could feel it." She shuddered slightly at the memory. "Is that how it always is? That constant awareness of being watched?" Madeline didn't interrupt. Just let her speak. "And walking down the street. It was like I'd accidentally wandered onto the set of a cologne commercial. Whispers, stares, double takes. Even women were looking. Some were kind of nice, but others gave me this whole stay away from my man look like I was some kind of threat." "Were you a threat?" Madeline asked, her voice neutral. "No," Erin exclaimed. "I was just trying to get a damn macchiato, not steal anyone's boyfriend." "But you attracted attention anyway," Madeline observed. Funny how that works. Erin nodded miserably. There was this one guy in a convertible wedding ring, and all, who actually slowed down to ask if I needed a ride. Like, who falls for that? Sure, strange married man. I'd love to get into your midlife crisis mobile. More women than you'd think, Madeline said quietly. Especially the vulnerable ones. Madeline smiled, knowingly. And how did that make you feel? The question hung in the air between them, heavier than it should have been. It was the obvious follow-up, but something in Madeline's tone suggested she already knew the answer, or at least part of it. Erin opened her mouth, then closed it. She wasn't sure how to word it. Uncomfortable, she said eventually. Mostly. But, also, a little, I don't know, seen. The admission felt strangely intimate. Like confessing a secret she hadn't realized she was keeping. Like, I know it's messed up, she continued hastily. But there was this tiny part of me that was like, oh, I must look good today or whatever. Which is ridiculous because I know exactly what those guys were thinking. Because I used to be one of them. The call is coming from inside the house, Madeline quipped. Exactly. Erin threw up her hands. I'm both creeped out and oddly validated. And I hate that I feel either of those things. Madeline nodded again, standing up. That's pretty normal. Erin blinked. Wait, really? Very, Madeline said, already walking toward her bedroom. Get used to it. You're a beautiful woman now, Erin. That kind of attention just comes with the territory. The good, the bad, the creepy, and the confusing. She paused at the edge of the hallway, turning back with an expression that was part amusement, part something deeper. And that barista's number. That won't be the last. You'll get good at spotting the ones worth keeping and the ones that go straight in the trash. How do you tell the difference? Erin asked. Madeline gave her a small, enigmatic smile. You'll learn. Usually the hard way. Erin stared at her retreating figure as her voice called out one last time before the door closed behind her. Welcome to womanhood again. Erin sat alone in the living room, the TV still flickering silently. She reached for the Starbucks cup, turning it to examine the number scrawled on its side. There was a time, not that long ago, when she would have been the one writing her number on a cup or a napkin, passing it to some pretty girl with a wink and a line. Now she was on the receiving end, and it felt nothing like she'd expected. I wonder how many of my numbers ended up in the trash, she mused aloud. The empty apartment offered no answer. Just the soft hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of Madeline's shower starting. Erin crushed the cup in her hand, tossing it into the wastebasket beside the couch. She picked up the remote again, resuming her futile search for something, anything that didn't feel like it was mocking her new reality.